Welcome back to Commas in a Series. Rule number 2. The first rule we used was we use commas in a series to separate 3 or more items of same grammatical structure. Building off that a little bit, rule number 2 says use a comma over here to separate 2 or more adjectives that precede and modify the same noun. Again, not getting caught up in verbiage. Obviously, we need 2 or more adjectives that come before the noun it modifies. And again, all adjectives modify nouns. They add extra to it. So we can give an example. We have the word boy. Think of anything we can use to describe boy. Tall, short, thin. These words modify the noun boy, okay? And they precede boy, they come before it. So using this rule, we use a comma to separate 2 or more adjectives that precede and modify the same noun. We look at the examples on the board here. Example number 1, it says the hot, dry air of Egypt preserved many objects through the centuries. We have a comma in between hot and dry. All right, both words modify the noun air. Okay, what kind of air? It was hot and dry. Now, the side note on the board, and if you can see it, great. If you can't, pay attention. The side note says, try placing and, we'll put a square around this word, try placing and between the adjectives. If and makes sense, use a comma. So for instance, we go back to this first example. The hot and dry air of Egypt preserved many objects. If and makes sense, then we use a comma. Okay? The second example, he gave a quick, comma, dismissive answer. Quick and dismissive both tell what kind of answer, so they both modify answer, and going with the term precede, they both come before the word answer. Try the side note, the rule of thumb. Can we put and in here? He gave a quick and dismissive answer. If it makes sense, we use a comma. In this instance, using and makes sense. The last one I wanted to show you, the one that doesn't work. All right, this example right here. He walked some large dogs. Now, some is an adjective. Large is an adjective. They both modify dogs. What he walked? Some dogs. All right. How many dogs? Some. What kind of dogs? Large. Now, if we use the side note and we place and in between them, and both adjectives, by the way, come before the term dogs. So we have a perfect opportunity here to follow rule number 2 and put a comma in there. If we use the side note, placing and in between these, he walked some and large dogs. If that doesn't make sense, we don't use a comma. And in this instance, putting and in between some and large does not make sense. So rule number 2, very quickly, separating adjectives that modify nouns. If the adjectives can be separated with the term and, then they take a comma. Okay? Thank you and good luck.